When it comes to dating, there are so many things you have to be on the lookout for. And one thing that you might not have heard of is relationship OCD. So it's also known as ROCD. Dr. Viviana broke it down for us. Take a look.
Dr. Viviana, I am so happy to be talking to you. We're going to jump right in. What
Let's do
is
it.
relationship OCD and what does that look like?
So it's anxiety driven doubt. This is not that you're in a bad relationship and it's causing you to feel overly insecure or concerned. It's intrusive thoughts and
Mhm.
compulsive checking about the relationship, even when things are going well. So this is about a compulsive issue, not so much about a response to a relationship.
Right. So you mentioned even when it's going well. So what drives that from within?
Yeah. So it's usually questioning, feeling certain, feeling whether or not there's mutual attraction. You start to question compatibility, even when there are really no signs to do that. So they start to question, like, do I love them enough? Am I the right person for them? What if there's someone out there that's better? And they just ruminate on those questions.
Just continuously.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this. What does ROCD, which is relationship OCD, what does that target?
Okay, so this unfortunately it is a new term, and it's not
Yeah.
something you're going to find in the DSM, any of them. So it's going to target reassurance. You're going to want reassurance often. It's going to look like a trap. It's going to feel like, man, I really need reassurance often. And if you're already kind of that person, then you tend to do this in relationships, regardless of the circumstances. But this can strike even the most secure people, especially if they find that other people around them are being betrayed by partners. It's almost like you start to take on the concerns that other people have lived through and really internalize them. And yeah, they and your partners, they might be like, no, I absolutely love you. Like things are going really well. And it might briefly soothe that anxiety, but ultimately it starts to go back into that cycle. And it's like no assurance is going to be enough.
Okay, so you talked about the trap of this. How can we break that cycle, that ROCD cycle?
Yeah, so it is possible. First of
Okay.
all, naming the pattern. So, for so many of the clients that come in who are experiencing this, I'm really helping them to figure out what is the pattern that you're noticing. When do you typically experience more relationship OCD? When are you, how are we going to then be able to, once you've identified the pattern, that kind of gives us the lay of the land, and then we can start to counteract and reduce some of the compulsion. So, for instance, if somebody is constantly online looking at doom relationship content, or they're on Reddit talking, not talking, but typically they're just lurking.
Searching,
I will
right.
tell them, look, you get to do that for 5 minutes a day, and then we're going to decrease
And
it
then
because
cut it off.
and then cut it off. It's not typically enough to just tell them, if that doesn't, if that's not serving you, stop, right? Most people aren't just going to stop. But if you
Right.
start to limit that, and then also just helping them to know what talks really will assure them, what are good relationship talks, healthy relationship talks, because asking your partner over and over again if they love you and it goes in one ear and out the other, is going to cause more grief than maybe they've signed up for.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about it from the other end. Let's say we're not the ones with the ROCD. How can we spot it and support our partner?
Okay, first things first, you want to notice a pattern, help them to
Okay.
understand. It seems like when you hang out with these people, it seems like when you read this book or listen to this podcast, or when I go out of town, you tend to be more on edge and experience more of those symptoms. What can we do before those situations, or to limit those situations, to help you to feel like you're more assured going into them than you have in the past? So notice the pattern and then decide what you're going to do to prepare for it, to see if that maybe shakes things up and allows you to feel like you're breaking it.
Dr. Viviana, thank you so much for joining us today. This is a really important topic that I think is coming to the forefront of mental health. So I really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much. I hope this
Thank
helps.
you. See you next time.
Continue the conversation with Dr. Viviana. You can find her online at drviviana.com/vividrelationships or follow her on Instagram. Just look up her handle at Dr. Viviana. We'd also really love to ask your relationship questions to her. So go ahead, send your questions our way via email to mycoco@9news.com.